who had just glimpsed something that their mind refused to process. "I surrender," he managed to say. "I surrender completely and without reservation." The arena fell silent, except for the sound of several thousand beings trying to figure out what they had just witnessed. Maya helped Thraken to his feet with the same gentle care she might show to an injured pet, patted his shoulder encouragingly, and walked back to her starting position while the crowd erupted in confused chatter. "Winner," I announced, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. Maya Patel. 2 hours later, it was time for the championship match. Quillrath had spent the intervening time growing increasingly agitated, her toxic breath creating small craters in the arena floor as she paced back and forth. She had watched Maya's match against Thraken with the same bewildered expression as the rest of us, and I could see that it had shaken her confidence. Maya, meanwhile, had spent the break sitting quietly in competitor's area, sharing her cookies with anyone brave enough to try them. She had changed her water bottle for a fresh one, and appeared to be doing some sort of light stretching exercise that looked suspiciously like human yoga. Final match, Griselda announced. Quillrath the Venom Queen versus Maya Patel. Winner faces the Dread Emperor in tomorrow's Ultimate Championship. The two competitors entered the arena to a cacophony of noise from the crowd. Quillrath's reputation was well established. She had never lost a match, never even been seriously challenged. Her venom could dissolve nearly any known substance. Her speed was legendary, and her tactical intelligence was considered among the finest in the galaxy. Maya entered to a mixture of cheers, confused murmuring, and what sounded like several species equivalent of nervous laughter. She looked exactly as she had for her first match, right down to the cheerful wave she gave to the crowd. "Human," Quillrath hissed, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "What you did to Thraken will not work on me. I have studied your species. I know your limitations." "Do you?" Maya asked, sounding genuinely curious. "That's interesting. What do you think you know?" "You are slow," Quillrath began, beginning to circle Maya with predatory grace. "You are weak. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. You are nothing more than a soft, pink collection of vulnerabilities." "All true," Maya agreed cheerfully. "Anything else?" "You die easily," Quillrath continued, her claws beginning to secrete their deadly venom. "Your bodies are fragile. Your organs are exposed. Your bones break under minimal pressure. You are prey animals pretending to be predators." "Also true," Maya said. "You have done your homework." Quillrath struck without warning, moving faster than most beings could follow. Her venom-coated claws slashed through the space where Maya had been standing, carving grooves in the arena floor that immediately began smoking as the acid ate through the reinforced materials. Maya was no longer there. She was 3 feet to the right, still holding her water bottle, still smiling. Quillrath attacked again and again and again. Each strike was precisely calculated, each movement designed to compensate for Maya's potential escape routes. The Venom Queen was a master tactician, and she adjusted her strategy with each failed attack, learning from Maya's movements and adapting accordingly. Maya avoided every single strike by the narrowest possible margin, moving with an economy of motion that bordered on the artistic. She never seemed to hurry, never appeared stressed or winded. She simply was not where Quillrath's attacks happened to be occurring. After 5 minutes of this deadly dance, Quillrath finally stopped, breathing heavily and staring at Maya with a mixture of frustration and growing fear. "What are you?" she demanded. "I'm human," Maya replied, as if that explained everything. "Humans cannot move like that," Quillrath snarled. "Humans cannot predict attack patterns with that level of precision. Humans cannot process information fast enough to react to my speed." "You are absolutely right," Maya said. "We can't." "Then how?" Maya's smile shifted slightly, becoming something that was still pleasant but carried an edge that made my survival instinct start screaming again. "Because I'm not reacting to your attacks," she said. "I'm reacting to your intentions." "That's impossible." "Is it?" Maya took a sip from her water bottle. "You see, when humans first started exploring space, we discovered something interesting about ourselves. We are not the strongest species or the fastest or the most technologically advanced, but we have one ability that most species don't even recognize as an ability. What? We read patterns, Maya said. Not just visual patterns or mathematical patterns, but behavioral patterns, emotional patterns, intention patterns. We do it so instinctively that we don't even realize we're doing it. We call it intuition or a gut feeling or just being good with people. Quillrath's eyes narrowed. You are claiming to be psychic. Not psychic, Maya corrected. Just human. We evolved as social predators on a planet where the most dangerous thing was usually another human. We learned to read microexpressions, body language, vocal tones, even chemical signatures that indicate emotional states. We became very, very good at predicting what other intelligent beings were going to do before they did it. She paused to take another sip of water. The thing is, most species never developed that ability because they didn't need it. They evolved claws or armor or venom or size. They became apex predators through physical superiority. But humans, we became apex predators by learning to outthink everything else. You are still just one small, weak human, Quillrath pointed out, though her voice had lost much of its earlier confidence. True, Maya agreed, but I know exactly what you're going to do next. And the next thing after that. And the thing after that. I know which claw you favor when you are frustrated. I know how your balance shifts when you are preparing to strike. And I know that right now, you're starting to realize that you can't win this fight. Quillrath's response was to launch into the most vicious, sustained attack I had ever witnessed. She became a blur of motion, striking with every technique in her considerable arsenal, pushing her speed and agility to their absolute limits. The arena floor became a wasteland of acid-carved craters and smoking gouges as her claws carved through space with lethal precision. Maya danced through it all like she was performing a choreographed routine. She moved with impossible grace, turning deadly strikes into near misses with tiny adjustments of position and timing. She made it look effortless, like Quillrath was moving in slow motion while she operated on some accelerated timescale. But I was watching Maya's face, and I could see the truth. This wasn't effortless at all. This was a result of incredible focus, superhuman situational awareness, and a level of mental processing that defied everything I thought I knew about human capabilities. Finally, inevitably, Quillrath made a mistake. It was tiny, barely perceptible, but Maya was there to capitalize on it. As the Venom Queen overextended slightly on a particularly aggressive strike, Maya simply reached out and touched her forehead with one finger. Quillrath froze mid-attack, her eyes going wide with shock. "How did you know?" she whispered. This was a result of incredible focus, superhuman situational awareness, and a level of mental processing that defied everything I thought I knew about human capabilities. Finally, inevitably, Quillrath made a mistake. It was tiny, barely perceptible, but Maya was there to capitalize on it. As the Venom Queen overextended slightly on a particularly aggressive strike, Maya simply reached out and touched her forehead with one finger. Quillrath froze mid-attack, her eyes going wide with shock. "How did you know?" she whispered. "Now what?" Maya asked gently. "The pressure point," Quillrath breathed. "How did you know about the neural cluster? No off-world species has ever discovered that weakness. It is not recorded in any database." Maya's smile was kind, but somehow terrifying. "I told you," she said. "Humans read patterns, including biological patterns, neurological patterns, anatomical patterns. I have been mapping your nervous system since the moment we started fighting." Quillrath swayed on her feet, struggling against the paralysis that was spreading through her system. "I surrender," she managed to say. "I yield the match." Maya released the pressure point immediately, and Quillrath collapsed to her knees, gasping. "Thank you," the Venom Queen said, and there was genuine respect in her voice. "I have never encountered anything like you." "Most beings haven't," Maya replied, helping Quillrath to her feet. "We try to keep it that way. Diplomacy works much better when people underestimate you." As Maya walked back to her corner, preparing for a final match against Cactos, I found myself reconsidering everything I thought I knew about humanity. They weren't just decent diplomats or makers of fermented beverages. They were something far more dangerous, a species of natural-born analysts who had learned to weaponize empathy and turn understanding into a form of combat. "Final championship match begins in 1 hour," Griselda announced. Maya Patel versus Cactos, the Dread Emperor. I looked down at the arena floor, where Cactos was already waiting. The Dread Emperor had watched both of Maya's previous fights with those unblinking eyes, and I could see that he understood what the rest of us were only beginning to grasp. Maya wasn't just another competitor. She was a representative of a species that had spent millions of years learning to defeat things that should have been able to defeat them. And now, for the first time in his reign, Cactos looked genuinely concerned about the outcome of the fight. The final hour passed more quickly than I would have liked. When the time came, Maya entered the arena, looking exactly as she had for her previous matches. Same clothes, same water bottle, same cheerful demeanor. But there was something different about her now, a sense of anticipation that made the very air around her seem to vibrate with potential energy. Cactos was already waiting in the center of the arena, his 6 arms crossed, his massive form radiating the kind of presence that made lesser beings flee in terror. He had not moved or spoken since taking his position, but his eyes tracked Maya's every movement with laser focus. Championship match, I announced, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent arena. Maya Patel versus Cactos, the Dread Emperor. Standard rules apply. Begin when ready. For a long moment, neither competitor moved. They simply stood there, studying each other across 20 feet of scarred arena floor. The tension was almost unbearable. Then Cactos spoke, his voice a rumble that seemed to emerge in the arena's foundation. "Human," he said, "I have seen what you can do. I understand what you are." "Do you?" Maya asked, her tone genuinely curious. "You are what my species calls a pattern weaver," Cactos replied. "One who sees the threads that connect all actions, all intentions, all possibilities. We have legends of such beings, though none have been encountered in 10,000 years. Maya's eyebrows rose slightly. "That's a very flattering comparison." "It is not flattery," Cactos said. "It is recognition. And it is why I must ask you a question before we begin. I'm listening." Cactos was quiet for a moment, and when he spoke again, there was something in his voice that I had never heard before. Uncertainty. "Are you here to prove that humans can fight, or are you here to prove that fighting is unnecessary?" Maya's smile widened, and for the first time since I had met her, it held no warmth at all. "I'm here to prove that humans are exactly as dangerous as we choose to be." What happened next will be debated by xenobiologists and combat analysts for generations to come. Cactos attacked with the full fury of a being who had never known defeat, moving with speed and power that defied physics. His 6 arms struck in perfect coordination, each blow carrying enough force to shatter mountains. Maya met him in the center of the arena. I cannot adequately describe what I witnessed. It was not a fight in any conventional sense. It was more like watching a master sculptor work with living marble, shaping and guiding and redirecting with touches so precise they seemed almost surgical. Maya moved through Cactos' attacks like water flowed around stones, and every movement, every gesture, every seemingly casual touch served to redirect his enormous power back against itself. She was not fighting him. She was teaching him. With each exchange, Maya demonstrated some new aspect of human combat philosophy. She showed him how strength could be turned into weakness, how size could become a liability, how the very characteristics that made him supreme in conventional combat became limitations when faced with an opponent who refused to engage on conventional terms. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was unlike anything I had ever seen. The end came suddenly. Cactos, breathing heavily and growing frustrated with his inability to land a significant blow, attempted one final, devastating attack. He brought all 6 arms down simultaneously in a strike that would have reduced most opponents to their component atoms. Maya caught to his hands and hers. The shock of that simple action rippled through the arena like a physical force. Cactos, the Dread Emperor, the being whose strength was measured in planetary masses, found his attack completely neutralized by a human who weighed less than one of his arms. "How?" he gasped. "Leverage," Maya replied simply. "Physics, and about 30 years of martial arts training." She twisted slightly, using Cactos' own momentum against him, and suddenly the Dread Emperor was off balance, his massive form teetering on the edge of a fall that would have been impossible moments before. "But mostly," Maya continued, her voice carrying clearly across the stunned arena. "It's about understanding that true strength isn't about how much force you can apply. It's about knowing exactly when and where to apply it." Cactos struggled to regain his balance, but Maya's grip on his hands had created a fulcrum that turned his own strength into the mechanism of his defeat. The harder he tried to pull away, the more off balance he became. "I could let you fall," Maya said quietly, her words meant for Cactos alone, but carrying clearly in the silence. "And you would not be seriously injured, but you would lose." "Or," Cactos asked, his voice strained with effort, "or you could choose to understand what I'm really offering you." There was a moment of perfect stillness, and then Cactos did something that no one in the arena had ever expected to see. Slowly, carefully, he lowered himself to one knee. The Dread Emperor, the strongest being in recorded galactic history, knelt before a human who barely came up to his chest. "I understand," he said, his voice carrying a respect I had never heard before. "You are not here to defeat us. You are here to show us what we could become." Maya released his hands and stepped back. "Humans have a saying," she said, her voice carrying clearly across the arena. "The strongest person in the room is usually the one who doesn't need to prove it." She looked up at the crowd, at the thousands of beings who had come to witness combat, and instead had received something entirely different. "My species has been part of the galactic community for 50 years, she said. "In that time, we have focused on diplomacy, on trade, on finding ways to coexist peacefully with species who could destroy us without effort. And we have been very successful at it." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But what you have seen today is what happens when diplomacy fails, when peaceful coexistence is no longer an option, when humans stop being nice and start being what we actually are." "And what is that?" Cactos asked, still kneeling. Maya's smile returned, but it was different now. It carried the weight of 3 million years of human evolution, of countless generations who had survived by being smarter, more adaptable, and more dangerous than anything that tried to hunt them. "Survivors," she said simply. "We are survivors, and we are very, very good at it." The arena erupted in a chaos of sound as every being present tried to process what they had just witnessed. But I found myself focusing on Cactos, still kneeling before Maya, and the expression profound respect on his face, because he understood, as I was beginning to understand, that Maya had not won through superior strength or advanced technology or hidden weapons. She had won by being completely, authentically human, and that was the most terrifying victory of all. As the crowd slowly dispersed and the competitors made their way out of the arena, I found myself with a new perspective on humanity's place in the galaxy. They weren't just diplomatic partners or trading allies or makers of interesting beverages. They were the species you really didn't want to make angry. And after today, I had a feeling that particular message had been received loud and clear throughout the galaxy. Maya Patel had come to prove a point about human capabilities, and mission accomplished. Mission accomplished. I just hoped the rest of us were smart enough to learn from it.